Hello, I'm James Knight, founder of Gentle Somatic Yoga. This somatic movement flow that I'm going to lead you through is to release and repattern the lower back specifically, but also the entire back. So if you'd like to join me, please find a place where you can lie down. And like all somatic movement flows, if you can check in before and after the movement, it's part of the science of repatterning the brain. So we're going to start lying down flat. And just notice the way that your body's arranged itself on the floor. And specifically slide one hand underneath your lower back on both sides. And notice what that distance is. And then we'll check in when we're finished. Also just notice how you feel all the way from the top of your head down to your toes. And then when you're ready, then bend your knees, feet flat on the floor, hip width distance apart. Starting with the right hip, lift your right hip up towards the ceiling, and as you do so, the knee extends forward instead of out to the side or in. So the hip comes up and the leg comes out, so pause here. And then slowly lower the hip back to the floor, and then pause and release all muscular effort. 2 more times, lift the hip straight up. Notice what you feel in this part of your body, pause. And then slowly and smoothly bring it back to the floor, and then release all muscular effort. 1 more time, lift it up, pause. And then slow and smooth on the way down, and release. Adding on, first lift the right hip, pause. Push the right shoulder down and tuck the shoulder in towards the spine. Allow the head to roll over to the right, and then come out of the movement together as one movement, slow and smooth. Head comes back to center, arm rolls back under, pause. 2 more repetitions. Lift the right hip, pause. Tuck the right shoulder in, and notice if you can feel a contraction on the right side of your back, muscular engagement, and slowly disengage back to neutral, and pause. Let it all go. Last time. Lift the right hip up, pause, tuck the right shoulder down and under, pause, and then come out together slow and smooth, and release. Good. And now moving on, widen your stance a little bit wider than hip width apart. We're going to go back to those 2 pieces of instructions and then add on. So lift the right hip, pause, tuck the shoulder, pause, and now bring the knees in towards each other. Left hip stays down, hold, and then release all together back to neutral, and pause. 2 more just like that. Lift the right hip, pause, tuck the right shoulder, pause, bring the knees together and hold. Notice what you feel from the inside out, and then unwind back to neutral and release. Again, lift, tuck, squeeze, hold, and slowly unwind back to neutral and letting go. Just curious, let's have a post check by extending the legs, and notice if you feel any different between your right side and your left side. One of the things you might notice is that this side feels flatter and longer, for example. So just noticing if there is any contrast, and let's do the other side. So bend both your knees, bring your feet flat on the floor, bring your feet parallel to the hips, starting with the left hip. straight up towards the ceiling and extend that knee forward. Pause. And then slowly come down and release all muscular effort. As you lift the left hip, the right hip, and this area stays relaxed, so lift the left hip, pause. Notice what you feel on the level of sensation when you lift the hip, and then slowly come down, slow and smooth, and release. One more time. Lift the hip, pause. Slow and smooth as the hip comes down, and release. Adding on. Lift the hip, pause, tuck the shoulder, and coming out slow and smooth, and release all muscular efforts. Lift the hip, pause, tuck and roll under, and unwind together back to neutral. Last time, lift, tuck, and unwind. So we're doing each set and repetition of 3s. Now we're moving on. Widen the feet, lift the hip, pause, tuck, pause, squeeze the knees towards each other, pause, and unwind back to neutral. And release all muscular effort. Very important to release after each repetition. Lift, tuck, squeeze, and unwind. And rest. Last repetition. Lift, tuck, squeeze, and unwind. Good. For integration, bring your knees to your chest. Massage your knees with small circles to the ceiling. And reverse directions. And then extend the legs. And this is the final post check. Bring your legs down and notice how you feel from the inside out. You can slide your hands underneath your lower back and notice if that space got smaller. And then just lie here for a few moments and notice the quality, the state of your being, and just relax. And open your eyes and just come out of this nice and slow. Thanks for following along, and always remember, awaken the possible.